All right, I think some time needs to be spent to say something extremely important, and I don't mean this in a very disrespectful way. I mean this in a very sober way. Europeans are full of shit. Don't get me wrong. I have lots of European friends I admire very much, and I don't mean this in a way that insults their countries. They have very nice countries. I'm not really interested in any of them personally, but objectively speaking, they have a lot of nice things going on, like healthcare systems and things like that. So don't again, I'm not really trying to take a shit on anybody with this, but we do need to make some things pretty level here. So here's something that Europeans are pretty ignorant about the world and how it works, and for some reason they go balls to the wall with things that a lot of other nations don't give a damn about, like the metric system. Wait, you thought the metric system was worldwide? Well, yeah, especially in America, where we pretty much go by the metric system. We just don't call it the metric system. The first thing is that people are encouraged, and many people around the world grow up being bi or trilingual as just how to talk to their family members. You want to talk to auntie, you got to know Mandarin. If you want to talk to your brother, you got to know Spanish. That's just a normal thing, or Malay or something. That's a normal thing across the world, is being bi or trilingual without going to school for it. Um, so while that's a good thing, apparently knowing multiple measurement systems is seen as a bad thing, which doesn't make any sense because it's basically the same in a lot of ways. So in reality, no measurement system should necessarily be hated on just because whatever. So first of all, imperial, U.S. customary that we use came from Europe in the first place, came from England. But secondly, not only is it shouldn't be hated for that reason, but the second reason is, so who gives a damn if, like, the only thing I personally get confused by is the cooking thing. But again, I just attribute it as my problem rather than saying the system's at fault. I mean, you have to be pretty stupid to not be able to, or just have other issues to not be able to understand feet, inches, and yards. I mean, all this stuff is like the poem says about Fahrenheit. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. 32 is pretty low on the scale, so therefore it's pretty damn cold. 100 is pretty high on the scale, so it's pretty damn hot. Somewhere around, depending on where you're from, somewhere around 60 to 80, and sometimes more, again, might be a comfortable thing for you. And if you think about the American grading system, A, B, C, and F, because where I come from, there's no D. That's not a pun. It's just that we don't have D. Where when I was growing up in school, it's just A, B, C, and then F. Anything lower than a 30s. Sorry. Of course that's an F. Anything lower than a 70s, failure. That's it. There's no D. I started going to university outside the country, and I learned that they have a damn D, and I'm like, damn, I can pass and make a 60. Like that was extremely up when I was going to high school. But anyway, so there that is. Um, but yeah, so knowing more than one system and saying that customary is extremely confusing is just a bunch of bullshit. You're just trying to not understand that there's something wrong with you mentally speaking, or that you just don't have the patience that you should have. At the end of the day, being bilingual and trilingual, even if it's in measurements, is important. In fact, many experts in mathematics would recommend, contrary to what people are saying, that knowing the base 10 measurement system and knowing the base 12 measurement system will probably do a lot of wonders in people's math scores, because there's a lot more naturally divisible numbers under 12 than there is under 10. In fact, 10 is particularly disadvantageous because there's barely anything divisible under 10, even with some of the other systems. Anyway, I'm not really here to talk about divisibility, even though I have a midterm on that tomorrow. The point is that it's pretty weird. So another thing is, as someone who's gone around the world somewhat, um, American measurement systems are pretty known to a lot of people, at least vaguely, around the world. All right, people watch American movies a lot, and they understand that there's feet, inches, and yards, and have at least some vague idea of what they mean. And I've often asked people for their height, and they just give it to me in feet and inches. There's plenty of people from Vietnam, yes, Vietnam, and the Philippines that I've just randomly talked to, and they would not tell me in centimeters. They would just say, "Yeah, This is my, I am, whatever, 5 foot something," and I'm like, "What's in centimeters?" I'm like, I don't know. That's the thing. Europeans think everything in the world is metric and whatever. It's like, in reality, It's just a mix of things. If people have a local measurement system, then they go by that more than imperial or um, more than imperial or more than metric. Now, a part of this has to do with the fact that many countries around the world were colonized by systems that use some kind of imperial, maybe not the English one, but something like that. So that has to be part of the equation too, I'm guessing. But really, a lot of it has to do with, since people don't generally pass history in most places in the world, even today, or at least they don't. History is not everyone's favorite subject. That's kind of a worldwide phenomenon. I like history, but still. So yeah, just it's mostly from American movies, but there is history with the imperialist system, or at least some kind of imperialist system. But what it comes down to is everyone has their own traditional system of measuring things, and some languages even depend on that. But that's just Papua New Guinea, as far as I understand. Anyway, there's local ways of doing things, and places tend to prefer their own, and when they don't, they do something else. And even with, I mean, in my university, all our math books are from the fucking United States. I don't mean in a bad way. I'm just saying all our textbooks are from the United States. Like I can literally show you. Like I'm studying for my midterms because here's my damn books. This was last year's calculus book, Larson Calculus, $30. Yes, that entire thousands of pages of calculus book was $30. You don't get ripped off in every country. Actually, pretty much all these books were somewhere between $10 to $30. Anyway, calculus, this year's version, Saanich Learning, linear algebra. Oh, there's stuff on the cover. That's again, this is in English. They're all international versions. Python. Okay, this is the only one that's in Chinese, but it's very easy to read. And of course, since it's fucking Python, all the computer code is still in English. It doesn't change really just because it's Chinese. All right, just the book's written in Chinese, traditional, of course. Abstract algebra, an introduction. All right, which is a really good read, I might add. I should be reading it right now since I have a midterm on it tomorrow, but I'm not. I just wanted to bitch about Europeans. Anyway, the thing is that Europeans are just in some ways full of shit, as well as everybody is. So I'm again, this is not really, saying anyone's shit, but god damn y'all. Anyway, but one of the main things is the dating system, and I don't mean like going on dates. I'm just talking about pretty much every country that I'm aware of has their own calendars, as in at least at the very least of their year system. Okay, so there's like people keep talking about the better system is doing day, month, year. Honestly, I like the Asian system of doing it. Asian mostly coming from Chinese, to be honest. Not Chinese as in the current Chinese government, of course, but Hua. Every time I refer to Chinese in this way, I'm just going to say Hua, since that covers the diaspora, Taiwan, and China as far as all their roots are concerned, as well as in some cases, depending, Japan, Korea, and Northern Vietnam, since all those, to some extent, had some kind of war relationship, or in most of those countries, minus Japan, were either conquered to some extent by some ancient Chinese, anyway, the history and the stuff of it. I'm just going to say Hua for those situations, because that's how you say it in Chinese, Hua culture. If someone has an issue with this, that's actually from what I'm referring to as Hua culture, you can let me know, but that's literally what we say in Taiwan for everything to do with this exact topic I'm talking about. Hua. Hua Yu. Hua Ren. I mean, it's all Hua. So, and it fits perfectly. It's also a way in English to get around the confusion, the ambiguity of what you mean when you say China. Because especially here, no one really likes to say China just because it has that reputation. But you still need a word for it because, there's still two different things. So I'm just going to say Hua. Hua culture, Hua whatever. Anyway, the Hua system I like a lot. Year, month, and day. But to be honest, again, being trilingual isn't really a problem because, to be honest, all of those ways of measuring the dates seem just as fine to me. I remember when I was in Vietnam, I was the most confused because in Vietnam, there's so many manufacturing places. All three systems are in use at the same time because they were colonized by the French, so they have the European system. They also have the Chinese system because that's made the most sense for them for the longest time, and they were partially conquered by the Chinese and went to war with them after the American-Vietnam conflict, which I started calling the American-Vietnam conflict because Vietnam's been to war with everyone multiple times, except U.S. I don't know why America wants to feel special to Vietnam. Like, we're not that special to them. Yeah, we did some insane shit, but so does everybody. Again, we're not special to Vietnamese for the most part, and when it comes to war. So a lot of this, talking about all the bad shit we done in Vietnam does need to be talked about to some extent, but really only to some extent, because at that point it's just its own form of privilege and whatever else. It goes against what people are trying to do very quickly. Anyway, like even China went to war literally right after we went to war with them. Anyway, because they hate like there's a lot of hate going on. There's actually just think about it like this: every single year in Vietnam, they have an entire day where if you're Chinese or Taiwanese, you're gonna kind of like hide your face as much as you can, because they have demonstrations against you. They don't do that against Americans. Sure, they do. I have seen broadcasts. I've seen the broadcasts again talking about the damn American Vietnam conflict. They have those from time to time. But I can literally show my face when one of those is going on against someone who lived during that time. I literally was walking into the place, and she is either the daughter or lived during that time, that conflict. And she just turned around with me with a smile. If you're Chinese or Taiwanese, you can't do that on the day that they're having protests against you. People aren't really going to draw and quarter you, but you got to kind of, not show your face as much as possible, or just stay calm during that day, or even, in some cases, give all your employees the day off, and you do whatever without going outside. They have demonstrations against Hua during this day, once a year. Do they do that to the Americans? No. Now, you can come up with your own reasons of why that is, and of course, I guess I have to be fair, they don't do that to the Europeans as far as I'm aware. Whatever. I used to live in Vietnam, so I know these things. Anyway, and I have very warm friendships with many of the people that I was there with anyway. So all that dropped to the side. Other different, so in Vietnam it was a mess with the calendar system, because they had all three: American, European, and Hua. So there that is. So yeah, many places in the world are either just familiar or already know what their measurements are, or what measurements are in U.S. Imperial or whatever. And again, there's various reasons why they might know that, but mostly just because of American media. And if they can be bilingual, why do Europeans have to have their nose stuck so far up? It's like, dude, you guys came up, again, going back to my first point, you guys came up with, or at least your ancestors came up with, imperial system in the first place. Sure, it's weird, but it's not really all that bad in retrospect, because, we're humans. We're fucking smarter than that. We don't actually need a base 10 decimal system to make us think straight. It's easier and it's convenient, but at the end of the day, if you're doing enough math, no matter what base you're using, it's going to get in the way. And that's kind of the real point. If you're doing enough math and enough utility, all base systems are going to get in the way, and you're going to have to convert and change to another. Literally, I have a differential equations class. Let me show you that book. Again, that is also in English. Oh, fuck. It's hard to maneuver. Oh. Ugh. Actually, I have no idea where I just put that book. Oh, I thought I had it in that box. Oh, it was in this box. Fortunately, I have this one as my last midterm I'll be taking, which is next week. So yeah, this is my differential equations book. And literally that's all we do throughout problem solving is change the base entirely all the time, change the base, change the exponents, change the variables. We're doing all kinds of stuff to these equations. I don't even know what we're doing half the time. And the point is, if you're doing enough math, everything gets in the way and you just have to change everything anyway. So what's the point of caring about, feet and inches and whatever? Again, I know sometimes it can be confusing, but that's the whole point of being a damn adult, is you can just do it. So yes, you guys may have, better healthcare systems that you guys still complain about. I mean, that's the thing. Like, even here in Taiwan, where the healthcare system is relatively great and many say is the best in the world, people still shit on it. And people still would rather go to, that's a thing. They go to Japan to get medication, despite how easy it is to get medication here. They go to Japan. And they fill up entire luggage cases for them and their friends and their family, despite it being illegal, and bring it back to wherever they're coming from, just to get meds. Just because it's bougie to do that. Not even because it's even all that necessary. So, people who have great healthcare still complain about it. But that, to be fair, people in each of your countries complain about the healthcare and how slow and whatever else they say it is. And at the end of the day, I know plenty of Canadians, and plenty of Canadians that I know have lots of issues, regardless of their class. Lower class, middle class. All of you guys complain about your healthcare system and various different things that affect each of you. Again, I have, well, mostly had, but I do still have warm friendships with lots of different Canadians. And it's not this picture perfect thing. And you know what? What else comes from that? Canadians will beg their American friends to buy electronics for them. They say, yeah, buy me an iPhone and bring it into the US. You know why? Because iPhones are free in America. I don't know why people keep saying you have to have money to buy an iPhone. That's literally the only phone I've ever heard of. You could go into Walmart and get 4 of them for free, no money down. Obviously, yes, you have to pay with the interest, but again, that still doesn't really defeat my point. If you can pay, if you're paying back off with interest, then it's essentially, unless you're paying the full price up front, that's kind of the point. That's the reason why, unfortunately, that's the economics of being in poverty, which I know all about that too, or at least a lot about that. That's the economics of it, is that you have to unfortunately buy crappy shoes that aren't going to last you a long time because you can't afford the extra $40 to buy a pair of boots or something that are going to last you for a while. You don't even have enough money to save money. It's an unfortunate thing. And so that same principle applies to buying a free iPhone. So that's why it doesn't count as a counter argument saying, well, you have to pay interest. It's like, well, no, because it's such a low thing every month, relatively speaking, that yes, being in poverty basically enables you to buy a cell phone. And people who aren't in that situation, you just buy full price up front. And then you think you accomplished something, when in reality you didn't. Anyway, so people from Canada will tell you, hey, buy me an iPhone. Partially because of what I just said, but also partially because they have like a 40, I don't remember, like 20-40% tax on electronics or luxury electronics. And that pays for the healthcare. And still, plenty of people aren't really getting that much healthcare, at least that they want to, in Canada. Again, I'm not trying to really shit on people's systems, but people want to shit on other people's countries like the United States, which does deserve some hate. Definitely. But people want to do it and just act like they got all their shit cleaned out, when in reality, they don't have all the answers either. Anyway, I am fucking 5'9" tall. I am fucking 69 inches, and I am backing down because that's the perfect number for me. So yeah, I'm signing out here with my cheap textbooks. Because again, like I said, America does deserve some hate. Fucking, how much did I pay? I think for this one I paid like $15. Yeah, so good. Unfortunately, it'd be a crime to sell it to any of you people watching it, so I'm not selling it to you.